All right, we're about to get started. Just waiting for everybody to finish connecting here.
You want to go ahead and give permissions for everybody to speak in the chat? I think right now it's only...
That's true.
Yeah.
Forgot to do that. Okay, so can you go in the chat, everyone, and just tell me if you can see and hear me. Whoops. If you can see and hear me okay. Okay. Perfect. It's working. All right. All right. I'm going to try to do it first, which is to play a video during a webinar. So let's see. So optimize for video clip. Share sound. So can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see your screen. I didn't hear you for a second there. I don't know what that was about.
What about now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm gonna maximize. Okay, how many people we have on?
239.
All right, so we'll premiere this video that literally just came out, and yeah, I would love to hear your comments, what you guys think in the chat. So get ready, guys. We're gonna start with a very meta thing. We're doing a commercial of the thing that you already have. All right, so hit play.
The QuickBooks automation tool of your dreams, and it is free. What? Look at this. Regular old QuickBooks. Bored? This Chrome extension? 2 clicks. Boop. Boop. Okay, third click, I have to close this. Boop. That is all you gotta do. There it is. You just bolted the USS Enterprise to your QuickBooks file. And it is courtesy of RightTool, today's sponsor. That's right, we are doing another demo day. Check this guy out. So this little panel that lives over on the right-hand side. Dehance, now enhance. Now here we're looking at my favorites. It is the greatest hits of QBO, power user type stuff, bank feed, balance sheet, P&L. I can click on these guys. I can scooch them around, add my own. But each of these are also keyboard shortcuts. Yep, that one. So for example, Control-Alt-1, that's gonna go to bank feed. 2 is gonna go to bank register. 3, pop quiz. You get it. And that's useful because QBO's built-in keyboard shortcuts, they are piping hot. RightTool's keyboard shortcuts, check this out. A whole bunch of different options, including stuff that you wouldn't otherwise be able to get to with a keyboard shortcut, like bills here, for example. I'm gonna hit Control-Alt-B, put you straight into a new bill. Okay, now if you haven't swiped this already, this one setting will have you alt-tabbing straight out of this video. And I won't hold it against you. Check this out. I'm gonna hit this toolie guy, tab management, shortcuts, open new tab. Boom. Wow. Poof. Wow. Look at that. Look at all those tabs. You know how many years this has plagued me? How many right clicks? How many mouse wheel clicks? How many control clicks? Years. Now, again, this is free to set up. It is like 2 clicks. You'll notice they didn't even make me register. I don't even have to give them my email address. And yes, there is a pro version. We'll touch on that at the end. But at this,
I'll just pause for a second on that real quick. And I'm doing this also because when I post this into YouTube, I want to break up the video a little bit to avoid copyright issues with YouTube. So we don't collect the email when you first set up RightTool, but we do. When we do have your email address, because you're logging into QBO with an email address, we automatically enroll you into these webinars. So it is the one thing that we are using your email for, and that's why a lot of you didn't seemingly register for the webinar. The user agreement for RightTool automatically grants us the permission to register you for the webinar, for the video. So I just wanted to just step back for a second about the whole thing. We don't collect the email address, but only for the purposes of the webinars, because we feel that if you guys watch the webinars every month, you will be sort of up to date on what RightTool does. And you can opt out of them.
Why do you not already have it? Why do you not have your whole team using it? And it is super smart because the guy behind this is the QuickBooks YouTube goat, Hector Garcia himself. So the smartest QuickBooks person I know, building their dream tool. And he's just gonna give it to you for free. What did you ever do for Hector, honestly? Okay, on to more cool stuff. Let's hop over to the bank feed. We got a transaction here and I don't know what it is. It's a situation I often find myself in. And what I usually do, I'm gonna grab it, I'm gonna go type it into Google and do this whole other research project to figure out what that thing is, right? Well, let me tell you, you've been doing it all wrong. So RightTool is gonna add this little Google memo button. You can click that bad boy, it's gonna open a new Chrome window and Google it like for you. Or even better, select just the part of the memo that you want to search, because oftentimes there's a lot of garbage in there, right? So I'm gonna grab this bit, Google memo, look at that, nice little side panel, Google that thing for me. A time savings already worth what you paid for this. TJK, you paid nothing, you greedy little m. Now, annoying thing QBO does in the bank feed is always trying to default stuff to transfers. If you know, you know, right? Now, we can actually disable this completely under settings by turning off restrict transfers in the bank feed. And now when I come back to that same transaction, you'll see transfers gone and it's actually defaulted to categorize, which is what I actually want. Thank you. Now there's like 50 plus more settings and features we haven't even touched here. They got a Facebook community with like 2,000 people that are in there sharing ideas on this stuff. But before we wrap up, I wanna show you the greatest hits of the paid version because it is worth it, you big cheapskate. And the pricing is not even per company, it's per user. So you're not connecting any of your QuickBooks files here. All it is an extension that you can use across all of your clients. Okay, so PROFeature here, batch editing. I'm gonna pop into settings, enable batch editing. Now you'll see I've got a little batch button here on the bank register. And click that guy, now I've got all these check boxes. Boop, 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 boop. Okay, now I can select all if I want. I'm just gonna say edit, and all of these things I can now batch edit. So I'm gonna click a few of these guys, I can hit close. And now I've got these black outlines, and any modifications that I make inside these black outlines, once I hit confirm batch, it will apply all of those changes to every other transaction I had selected. Yep. Look at all those, isn't that satisfying? You see all those getting updated? Now, if you're feeling particularly destructive, we can also enable batch delete. Gonna hop into settings and get these transactions out of my face. Okay, maybe my favorite PROFeature here, some of the stuff you can do with journal entry. So let's say I've got some journal entry information in a spreadsheet. Well, I can just copy and paste this right in, right? Wrong, in your dreams, buddy.
This part was
Not
so
even
funny.
close. But check this out, a little copy button up here, boop. We paste the same thing into this field, boom, like magic. But wait, there is more. We forgot a description, as you do. So now I gotta type in a description. And then you gotta do the old copy and like tab until the end of time and paste onto each line. But check this out, big brain time. Just hit this down arrow, hit okay. Woo, poof, just like that. Wanna do the same thing on the name? Poof, account, hit them with the poof. Duplicate line, look at me go. Okay, I'm just showing off now. Okay, so where are we going from here? We are going right on down to the video description. We're clicking the link to grab the Chrome extension. Because it is free, what do you have to lose? You are
All right, we'll leave it there. There's another couple seconds left. I will share the slides with you guys that contain the link to the video. So that's going to be in the Zoom link, and then I'll also put the slides on YouTube after we post it into YouTube. So anyway, the video was released literally at the same time as the webinar started. We did that on purpose so we can showcase it and you guys can be essentially the very first people to see them. This was a paid advertising, by the way. So like this is what Jason Staat does for a living now. So if you guys know any third-party app developers that want to have their app look super cool, super funny, super fresh, super modern, definitely send them over to Jason. Jason does incredible work. Not just that, this was the first iteration, and he I did like a 20-minute video for him, kind of pointing out the things that I like about RightTool, the things I would love for him to point out, gave him access to a pro edition. He played with it, and then he turned it around within a week or so. And he said, hey, you could, what changes you want in this video? And I said, change nothing. The video is perfect. So great advertising for us. We love it. We might even put this on the homepage of our website and everything. I could have done 100 videos, different ways, and I couldn't even get close to the amount of stuff he jam-packed in those 6 minutes. The quality of the work, just like pointing out the frustrations and the good things about it. So I absolutely love it. And hopefully, if you guys just watch it for the first time, maybe there were some features there that in this format, you finally notice that it's there. we've done all this hard work between the Facebook group and the YouTube channel at loading so many features, and then when you watch it in 5 minutes and you go, holy crap, I didn't know there were so many things in there. So yeah, absolutely. And you definitely want to subscribe to his channel. So I think Mark put a link to the video there so you can subscribe. He's got both a sort of technology channel and a daily podcast channel. I think you should subscribe to both. Jason's absolutely fantastic. First time I heard him, I said, if there was one person to sort of like dethrone my popularity in YouTube as like the CPA YouTuber, it would be this guy. It's amazing. And share the video, let people know about it. It's hilarious. It's awesome. We love it. Anyway, Mark, sorry you didn't get the shout out. So he's using the celebrity factor here with me, but the reality, I just have opinions about it. The one that really does all the work is Mark. So, Mark, what you think about the video?
I mean, like you said, I liked it a lot. I loved it. The only real criticism is that I'm not involved in it. I should have at least a whole minute dedicated to myself in that, obviously.
Exactly. All right. The next one we'll have him talk about you. Yeah. Anyway, officially, welcome to RightTool for QuickBooks Online version 1.016.4. Basically means the October release. Today's October 11th. And we're going to talk about new things that we've done for RightTool. So first of all, we did the last webinar we did of this fashion, long form webinar, was done on September 13th. The video is in YouTube. We showcase all the things that were released in September. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. The very best way to know when we release a new feature is by subscribing to the YouTube channel. Because if you subscribe to the YouTube channel and you click on that little notification bell when you go subscribe and you go to like all, you're going to get a notification in your phone that a new video came out. And usually we only post new videos when it's a new feature or something new to showcase. So it's kind of like the sort of a backhanded way of getting updates, but being in the Facebook group as well matters. Okay, so today's agenda, we're going to talk about RightTool Resources. We'll talk about reviews and feedback and how we're managing this. This company is already over a year old, so like we're thinking now more maturely about how we run this as a business and not so much as an experiment. We're sort of like trying to transcend, the fact that this has been a very awesome experiment for the past year, and we're starting to organize ourselves and soon hire and have just more than just Mark, myself, and Patrick managing, the requests and the comments and all that stuff. RightTool party in Las Vegas has been finalized. I mean, it's set in stone, so we'll talk about that. I have a spreadsheet where I compare free features versus pro features. I'll give you access to that spreadsheet as well, because it's a good resource for you to have, especially for the super uber RightTool nerds that we have in this group. We're going to talk about the biggest challenge that we've had in the past 2 months, which is dealing with new screens. So I'll explain a little bit about what is a new screen and what does it mean. Then we'll get into the new features and improvements for 2023. It feels like a light update, but the one thing that we added is like huge, like monumental, and I think you're going to be very excited about it, which is in the experimental features. And then we'll talk about some of the comments we've gotten from the Facebook groups and leave it open for Q&A. So that's today's session. So really quick, important links. Link number 1 is the release notes. Okay, so we are going to have basically every time we do a release, we're going to list all the features that were changed, updated. We're going to point out if they're free or they're new, if it's an update. They're free or pro, if it's an update, or if it's a new feature. So that's going to be a landing page that you want to go to. This is the same thing as when you're in RightTool and you click on, I believe you go into settings and then click on, oh wait, go back for here a second. Or actually, do we have that?
It's just where you click Pro Admin.
Yeah, right here. Pro Admin takes you to that link. So it's all accessible within RightTool. Then the Facebook group. Look, I know some people don't like Facebook, but it's the best place literally to report issues with, suggest improvements, to see new things that are coming out. We ask you questions. Hey, do you think it's a good idea? This is a bad idea. How would you manage this? People all the time say, hey, I'm having a problem with this feature. How would you go about it? Sometimes the other users are giving people idea how to fix things. So like the true power user nerdy place to hang out if Facebook is the right tool, a group. And I know a lot of people are like, well, Facebook's not for business and this and that. It's like, well, it's the best group you can think of. I mean, there's Discord, there's Slack, there's Circle, there's all sorts of communities. The problem that we have with that is historically, every time we set up something, it's too much friction, too many steps, too many things. And the one where the most amount of people are is Facebook. So Facebook became the lowest common denominator. The other thing is the feedback form. So it's a Google feedback form that we get to give you a general idea what that looks like. It's basically a spreadsheet, and every time there's feedback, Mark and I mark it with yellow when we're actively working on it and that sort of thing.
I'll be clear. There's not a lot of yellow on there because sometimes
we forget.
Respond without making it yellow.
But every time, just so you know, we read every single one of these, and Mark has gone through, and every time a bug is reported, we go back and fix it. And sometimes there's suggestions for new features, like this sort of thing. Like for example, add the cursor default to bill payments. So he did that. So it's kind of like, so all I'm telling you is like the feedback is not going into the ether. We're absolutely reading that all the time. We're very much obsessed with everything having to do with RightTool. And then the way you give feedback is you go into the settings, and then under help, it says feedback, questions, and bug reports. So it's all within the product as well. And also you can email us directly. So like we're accessible via Facebook, via the feedback form, via email. Right now, again, our obsession is making sure that this is the best tool in the world, continues to be, even though we have to navigate all these QBO changes. Now, one thing that's really important is, use those channels for feedback. If you're going to go into the Google Chrome web store, my ask from our fans is use this to provide actual reviews about how good the app is. And obviously I'm going to lobby for 5 stars. If you have an issue with something doesn't work with the app, use feedback instead. Use the feedback instead, so we can go and repair that prior to that. But we actually would love to have a pristine 5-star rating in the Google.
And to be clear, first of all, if you don't have a 5-star review for it, that's also fine.
It's fine, correct.
And the other thing I want to put out there is there is literally a thing that says support in the Chrome web store. That is the one spot where I do not want people to give me any bug reports.
That goes into a black hole, right?
Yeah, we don't get notified about those. Yeah. So it could be that there's support there that I just never read from a year ago. So putting that.
Yeah, use that Google feedback form. Okay, so that's done with that. Now let's talk about the QuickBooks Connect meetup. So Sunday the 12th, 6 p.m., we're going to go up to the area hospitality lounge. We already gave away tickets because there's a physical capacity to the room via Eventbrite. If you don't have a ticket, I would say just go anyway, because we don't know who shows up. So we'll let everybody in that has a ticket. And then, after 6:30, if nobody else has a ticket and we still have physical capacity that the fire department won't kick us out or anything, we'll let a couple people in. We'll have some food, some drinks. We'll be able to hang out. So just come anyway, just in case. We'll try to accommodate as many people as possible. I already bought some prices that we're going to be raffling off, and they're really cool things. So we'll discuss that then. All right, so let's jump out to the comparison chart. I think this is going to be a good resource for you, especially if you're sort of on the fence trying to decide whether to go for Pro if you're still using free, which, by the way, might be a good time to run a quick poll. So if you don't mind, I'm going to run a quick poll here. I just want to know if you are currently a free user, if you're a free user or a Pro user, or you haven't even installed it yet. So if you don't mind, I ran that poll for you. And also if you are in the Facebook group already, or now that you know about it, if you plan to be in the Facebook group. Again, probably the single best place to interact with us is the Facebook group, and obviously this webinars as well. Okay. So anyway, so while the poll question is up, just want to go over the spreadsheet really quick. One of the columns contains the category. I have numbers in there to just kind of keep track of the ordering system. I'm going to hide this one because this one's actually more confusing. I have whether it's default on or not. So if this basically means if you install RightTool, is it going to be on by default, or do you have to explicitly go in there and turn it on? there's a YouTube, literally a YouTube video, 4 to 5 minute YouTube video for every single feature. So here's the entire searchable database of everything that RightTool does. So if one day you have 3 hours to spare, just go through and watch all these videos, and then a description. And then, of course, what's available in Pro and what's available in the free edition. Notice that we have 115 lines in here. So we've literally added 115 features plus the ones that you can't really enumerate in there. So this is just for RightTool, of course, nothing to do with QuickBooks or anything like that. This is, you know, RightTool added on or bolted on to QuickBooks. Okay, I think we can close that polling question. We have 75% participation. Okay, and again, I copy and pasted a link to the slides, and in the slides are all the links. Everything we talked about, all the links are in the slides. So go ahead and get those slides if you want to follow along or do your research afterwards. So let's start with the one of the biggest what do you call that, thorn in my what's the expression, Mark? The stone in my shoe, okay, which is the new invoice and estimate layout. Okay. I'm sure you have your own opinion on this layout. There's tons of really cool things on that I think this does and can do. Problem is it's missing a lot of functionality. So so that's what frustrates people. One of my biggest pet peeves, and let's go in it really quick, and then we'll kind of just discover it by itself. And there's a reason why I have to discuss this, is because when we developed things for RightTool, especially for invoices, we developed everything on the old screen, and the new screen is just so much different that we have to sort of redevelop the features in here again. So that's kind of the challenge that we have. It's like the things that you're accustomed to seeing in the old screen that RightTool added, they're not here anymore. So one of the major pet peeves that people have is that edit button. So when you go and open up an existing invoice, you have to click on manage to open up. Let me close RightTool here. You have to click on manage to open up the actions button. And inside here, then you have the receive payment, make copy, delete, void, all these things that you're used to seeing at the bottom in a more button. They're now tucked in there. So like that's, I would say, the number one frustration that I had. My ask for Mark is, could we move the action button and put it down here somewhere? Unfortunately, it didn't seem to be too easy to do. So we're gonna try to figure out if we can bring out some of this functionality inside of the invoice. We do have a meeting with a product manager from this, who definitely wants to like be friendly with RightTool. So maybe we'll like, if QuickBooks can do some of the things that we don't have to do, that would be nicer. That way we can focus on what the more complex things that Intuit's not going to be able to pull off. But yeah, but I would love this actions button to be outside, so I don't have to click on manage to open that up. I would say that's probably one of my biggest pet peeves. And the second pet peeve is just like some things are just not available here. And that's a different can of worms. But if you are starting to see this screen and you don't see the RightTool features work on it, well, that's why it wasn't working, because we hadn't developed for this screen yet. But as of Monday, October 16th, supposedly all the Simple Start customers are going to be forced into this screen, and they won't be able to go back to the old layout. So because of that, we prioritize adding some of the features into this, not all of them. So so that's part of the October release, and so we'll discuss that. Okay, all right. So that's the stuff about that. Mark, is there something you want to
add? No, I think you kind of covered it.
Okay, so as a consequence to this, we have a feature called copy to or change or reverse transactions. So anytime you have this screen enabled, you won't be able to use the copy to change or reverse transactions. We'll cover that in the webinar, just in case you missed it on the last webinar. But like right now, it's just not going to be working at all, and we don't know if we're going to be able to get it to work. It might be months until we can get that one to work. The pay link details doesn't work, so that's when you click on right under the customer name, and it sends you to the customer information. The sales item log doesn't work, although that one seems like we might get closer to. The audit log opening in a new tab, that doesn't work, okay, right now. And duplicate rows is not working, even though we got copy down to work, with duplicate rows is not working. So that's a warning about that, and we'll talk about the stuff that does work in a little bit. Second one, the other thorn on my side or whatever it's called, is the new bills, expense, checks, and credit card credit, vendor credit too. So bills, expenses, checks, credit card credit, and vendor credit. They got overhauled, but they look the same. They have one tiny difference, and the best way to like sort of immediately tell is if you see those two little lines in the bottom right corner of the headers, which allows you to click on that and change the size of the column. If you have that, then that's what we are calling the new bills and expense, the new bills and expense screen. We're calling that sort of colloquially. And none of the bills features were working on that. And Mark spent probably the last 2 weeks just working on bringing stuff to the screen. And also we added a new feature, which we will discuss. Now I'm going to open up QBO really quick and show that screen, because one of the challenges that you're going to have is that some of your clients are going to have this and some are not. So, and there's no way to tell until you literally open the bill and see. So like you see those three little lines that allows me to change the column width. That's how I know it's quote unquote the new screen. Okay, which is pretty cool because this this drop down menu for categorize and for items was really small before. So now you can expand it, and it goes bigger if you make it really big. But if you make it really small, it has a minimum size, which is pretty neat. And we added some stuff to the screen, so we'll cover that briefly. But so if you were wondering, hey, why are some of my bills and expense things not working? It's probably because you have this type of screen, and we hadn't had a chance to bring the features to that. Mark, any comments on that?
No, don't think so.
Okay. Okay, there's a question here. Does RightTool allow you to add additional customizations to the new customer invoice template? No, we can't. That's back-end stuff. We can't change. We only can change front-end stuff. So, okay. So the things that are currently not working in the new bill expense screens is the same copy to change reverse transactions feature and the payee link details. So we actually got a lot of the stuff to work in the last couple of weeks, which is pretty awesome. So that being said, I just want to kind of disclose to you guys what is our development plan moving forward. So when it comes to new features, we are probably going to only develop new features in new screens, because we don't know when QuickBooks will deprecate the old screens, and it's just way too much work for us to build for 2 or 3 different versions of QBO. So anything that's already in old screens, we are going to continue to like bug fix and all that stuff. But anything that's new, it's only going to be in new screens. So like some of the new exciting things, you're going to see videos about it. You're going to see postings about it. If it doesn't work on yours, it's because whatever version of QuickBooks you have doesn't have the new screen yet. And there's no like discrete way for you to request your QBO to be uploaded into new screens. So, all right. Mark, anything on that?
Yeah, I mean, we're still going to be developing new things all the time, and we will. It's just a matter of making sure that everything is still working. There's just going to be a lot of work to be done.
The old stuff, right? The old stuff, right?
Yeah,
so right.
Just getting everything to work on the new pages is a lot of work.
Correct. It's just brand new code, brand new puzzles to solve, basically. Okay, so let's go over the new features, the fixes, improvements for October. So we're going to go down the list, all the things that essentially were fixed. Okay, so one, the mark as done feature was died for a while. We brought that back on. Copy memo from bills to bill payments that wasn't working on the new bills expense screens, that got fixed. We fixed the delete button for the reconcile page, so some people weren't able to delete certain expenses from the reconcile page because it was the new screen. We added the copy down to new invoice screen, so we'll showcase that. We added copy down and duplicate rows to bills and expense screens. We'll showcase that. We added headers to the paste from Excel into journal entries. This is old screen still. And we added a new super amazing export all list from paste from Excel in journal entries preview screen. So let's go through those first. So let's start with let's go through new bills and expense page. So let's go and enter a bill. And something that's worth mentioning as well, maybe you maybe you noticed this or didn't notice this, but this QuickBooks file that I have in front of me is a simple start. And simple start now added bills and bill payment. So that's kind of interesting side note here. So copy down. So you see two things here that we added. We added or that we added that was already existing in the old screens. Copy down and find and replace. So we'll go through that really quick. So let's say, for example, I am creating a bill here and I'm adding a bunch of items. Okay. And then let's say, for example, I want all the items to be 17 of each, and I don't want to go in there and copy and paste. So I put 17. I'm going to click on the copy down button up here in the top, copy down columns, click on that, and then click on the 17, and then click OK. And then the 17 will copy itself down. I don't know why it's coming in the last line, something we can go back and check, but we can just delete that.
We'll figure it out.
And let's say I wanted to add the same customer. So I'll just select the particular customer I want to have, go to copy down, click on that, click OK. That will copy itself down. The little pop-up pops up, but yeah, there's an extra one there that we probably want to delete. But basically, that's the copy down. That's copy down has been it's now working on the new screens, and copy down is a batch pro feature. Again, this is on batch pro, and this is only on the pro version. And by the way, many people have told us that copy down, it's the reason why they that they went pro, because it's incredible. The other thing that we also got working is that line duplication. So for example, here design 14, if I click on that little red button, it'll duplicate the lines, and I can duplicate lines as much as I want to. And then when you go into descriptions, let's say I want this word design to say construct or something like that, and I don't want to go in there and copy and paste on all these. So we click on the find and replace text, and we'll type design, and maybe we can make it, case sensitive, and we replace with or build, something like that, build. Okay, and then I click on replace all, and basically it goes in there and finds all the instances in the memo that has that word and does a find and replace. This stuff is in the pro edition. This one tool is called copy down and copy rows, and then the other one is called find and replace. So I'll just turn off the other ones so you can point out exactly the two that we showcased. It was these two here: find and replace, copy down, and copy rows. So that's what we showcased. Technically not new features. Those have existed already for a couple of months, but the new part about it is now it works on the new bills and bills, expenses, checks, credit card memos, and credit card credits and credit memos, and this works in old screens as well. So it's actually working across all versions of QBO. So if you have the Pro Edition, that should work across all your clients, all the users. Okay. All right. Yes. So that's that. The other thing. So that was this here. Now let's talk about copy down on the new invoice screen. So for that, I need to log out and log into the Simple Start file. Okay, so this is a big achievement too, because like these screens are like designed just so much different than
this invoice. The invoice page specifically is just completely new. Like everything about it is different from anything that's in QuickBooks before it, which is either a good or a bad thing, depending on your viewpoint. Right.
I mean, again, there's some interesting things about this screen, but like I think for the most part, it's less interesting, but it's just different. Like the feel, the UI, everything about it is different. So let's say we select a couple of items here. Okay, we just go through and add a bunch of items, and then I want to have the same description for everything. So I could put here for October or some 2023, something like that. And I don't want to sit there and copy and paste across multiple lines. I'll click on the copy down button, the little down arrow on the top. Click on that, and then click on October, and then click OK, and that comes in. Again, we got to figure out why that last line is coming in. We'll fix that probably.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure Mark's already coding with his other hand and trying to figure that one out. And then find and replace works the same. So if I wanted to change 2023 with 2024, or maybe I want to change October with November or something like that. And then this is something that's really cool, because you duplicate a transaction and then just change the month, something like that. So yeah, so those are the two things that we added in the new invoice screen. So at least for the people that are stuck using this screen, that they cannot go back to the old layout, because I know most people just don't like it. But if you have to use this screen, at least we made it a little bit more pleasant by giving you copy down and find and replace. Notice that the duplicate row, that one's not available yet, which we haven't figured that one out. Okay, next one I'll talk about is the headers in the paste from Excel journal entries. So this is not a new feature, but it is a big improvement from it. Just like visually, it's just a big improvement, period.
I think you need to turn it on.
Let me turn that on. So I'm going to go into copy Excel to journal. Again, another one of those that people tell us, hey, this is the reason why I went to Pro, this and this only. So let's assume for a second that that we have a journal entry in Excel, and we can paste in here. So let me just, I'm going to add a couple things here just randomly so I can. Okay, and we'll do here 200. Okay, and then we'll put a couple of names here. Okay, so let's assume, for example, that I already have this journal entry in Excel. Okay, so let me turn on the feature to export it to Excel as well. That's going to be under QBO user experience and this one, and breakout account number. So I'm going to export it to Excel first, just because I want to have an Excel already. Whoops, I guess I didn't save it.
Go to the history of it. I think you should be able to find it in history.
Oh, yeah, I did save it. Beautiful. I think I saved it. Okay, so I'm going to export it to Excel first, just to kind of showcase one. So I have here an Excel spreadsheet that contains, assumingly a clean journal entry, a potentially clean journal entry where everything matches QuickBooks specifically. So we'll delete this. Okay, and open up the journal entry again. And again, the notion is that I already have this information in Excel. For whatever reason, I'm not advocating that you should do journal entries in Excel instead of QuickBooks. I'm just saying, for whatever reason, you have a payroll journal entry that's faster to do in Excel, or it was exported from some system or whatever, and you have classes, names, you got a bunch of stuff there, descriptions that you don't want to type over. So yeah, we'll copy and paste that here too. And then I'm going to bring in that information, copy it, go into a new journal entry. Notice that there's no journal entries in the history. Click on paste here. And now in this screen, we added two things. So you should be familiar with this screen already. This is the Pro feature. But one of it, we added this button called Export All List Data. I love this because if you click on Export List Data and you open up the spreadsheet, essentially you will have a list of all the accounts in your chart of accounts, all your customers, all your classes. This happens to be a small sort of sample file.
I literally made this file just so I could get an example of the new invoice screen.
Exactly, but it just does a data dump of everything that's in the account, everything that is. So if you want to do a quick export of your accounts, your names, your classes, your locations from the journal entry, you can do it super quickly. And you can do the same thing. And we'll go back into bills and kind of show you what's in there. But you can do the same thing in bills with items as well. So, but in here you would paste, and then notice that everything has a nice little column here. Just kind of like kind of guiding you that what these things should be, because so we didn't have the column, the header before, so it's just easier. And then when we click paste it into Excel, everything imports in and pastes automatically. So again, not a new feature, but the exporting all this and the headers, preview headers, it's new. And this oddly enough, this one works in the actually, this is the new journal entry experience.
It's not the new journal entry experience.
It's not, okay. So this is
I wish.
Okay, so this is the old journal entry experience, and we've heard through the grapevine that there is a new journal entry experience, but none of our QuickBooks files have it. So we haven't developed that feature for the new one yet. So we have to discover until one of you guys tell us, oh, by the way, I have a new journal entry experience and it's not working. So we'll be able to look at it and figure that out. Okay. So that's
by the way, on that note, and actually, you know what? It's tough because we haven't really went over it yet. I have officially made enough progress on the on the importing of Excel that if somebody has a file that has the new journal entry and wants to get on a call with me for like an hour sometime, either today or tomorrow, but not right after this call, then yeah, let's get on that. I'll put my email inside of here. It looks like Bonnie is wanting to do it, so we can get that scheduled out sometime, Bonnie.
Yeah, and to be clear, it would have to be the journal entry screen that none of the pro features are working on, right? That's how that's because if there's already working on it, that means it's an old screen. Okay. Next, big announcement. This is the first time we do something like this. We took what was at some point, I forget when it was. My time is blurred right now, but probably like March or April, what we focused on a lot, which was the reporting tools. We made all the reporting tools available in the free version. Okay. So all the reporting tools are available in the free version. There are no reporting tools in the pro version. So it's available in both pro and free eventually. And there's multiple reasons for that. But reason number one is, QuickBooks is also redoing all the reports. So we will probably be building advanced reports features into all the new report screens, and that stuff might be experimental and that sort of thing. But because QuickBooks is for sure, we know they're not going to change the classic reports. We made anything that's on classic reports is going to be free, and we probably won't be developing new features for classic reports, only for the new reports that are coming. And secondly, I'm teaching the reports class over at QuickBooks Connect. So like I want to be able to mention QuickBooks Connect as a free tool, for reporting purposes. I mean, RightTool as a free tool for reporting purposes, and like no one into it can say, "Oh, you're just selling stuff." I'm not. All the report stuff, it's actually free. It's a free 100%. So you might want to look at that if you haven't yet looked at the reports. Because the classic reports, and maybe we can cover a couple of things. But the reports tools are awesome. Also, we took default print reports to landscape from QBO user experience, dumped it into classic reports, and auto switch to classic view from QBO user experience into classic reviews. Those two, onto classic reports. Those two we already covered in previous webinars. And we have a new thing, which is the audit log. So I'll open it up, Mark, but I'll let you be the person that showcases this was like your baby from the get-go.
Okay, let's see. I think you need to let me do screen sharing, right? Okay.
Stop sharing. Go ahead, Mark.
Oh, I think it says it's disabled participant, which I'm a panelist, not a participant, but.
Okay, I'm going to make you host now.
Fair enough. Okay. Let's see here. Screen 3. So this is a request that I am on the right screen, right?
Yes.
I don't have the green border for whatever reason. It's freaking me out.
You're good.
So yeah, one of the requests that came in recently, and it's always been a little bit of a request, but I haven't heard too much about it until this past month, is, inside the audit log, you can, customize the reporting range for when an actual action happened inside of the audit log, but you couldn't actually filter by the transaction date itself. So what I'm going to do here is going to change this to transactions, and I'm going to move this to have a little bit more stuff involved in it. Let's see here. Let's just go with that and then hope that QuickBooks updates. Okay. So inside of here, you can see things where the dates changed, but you can't see, for instance, with this expense right here, what the actual date of the expense was. So what we did is we just added a thing up here. This will only work for items that are currently in this page. So everything from here all the way to here is the only thing this is going to search for. So it will not search.
The 50 that are listed there, and you can expand this to 300 or 500. What is the gear?
You can expand this to 500, which is kind of nifty.
Yeah, very nifty.
And pretend for a second like I did not forget about that one thing that I always forget to do, which is make sure that things don't duplicate. Every single time. Anyways, it is what it is. But yeah, inside of here, I can put a transaction date. Let's say that I want to see only things that are only edits to transactions that were between, September 22nd. And if I just leave this blank, it just goes to infinity. So I'm just going to do this. And so now you can see it has all these things are filtered now. And we also put on the second row here a thing that says the date. That's actually telling you.
You appended that.
Yeah, I appended the date to that second column so you can actually see what date it is inside of here. So if I go into this journal entry, for instance, right here, assuming it wants to load, you can see that the journal date right here is 9/30, not October 1st, as is shown inside of here if I actually had that still showing up.
Where do you get that information from, Mark? Like where
it's hidden.
Magic? Okay.
It is deeply hidden in this page.
So it's in there. It's in there. It's just hidden.
There's no way anybody would normally be able to see it. Let's be clear about that.
Wow.
So it was just a lucky thing that it was even possible to do it. So, but yeah, very excited about it. Yeah, let me know if there's anything we can do to improve it.
That's pretty hilarious. Since your other baby was making changes to the UI for change and reverse transactions or copy to transactions, you want to showcase that one?
Sure, let's do it. Let's see if I can find a good transaction to do that with. Let's go to this expense. So what you guys might have seen before is that we had a button when you clicked more that allowed you to change from, like, let's say, an invoice to a credit memo. And what we realized is we kept making more and more buttons as people asked for more and more things to be able to copy.
Sorry, Mark, real quick. Let's go back for a second on the free versus pro. So the audit date, it's a free feature inside the classic reports setting. And the one you're going to cover now, it's a pro feature under experimental. Can you show that under experiments?
Actually, I'll show both. First of all, classic reports, as you can see, it is now moved into the non-pro version. And then inside of here, there's audit log transaction date filter. Yeah. So that's first part. And then experiments pro is what we're going to be talking about here, where it's reverse/change transaction types. We might want to change the name of that, to be honest, but for the moment, that's what it's called. It does essentially
the original use case for this is people had an invoice and they wanted to change it to a credit memo, or people had a credit card credit and want to change it to a credit card charge, or they had a deposit. But the deposit is actually tricky. But they had let's say a sales receipt. They want to change it to a refund receipt. I believe like that's like sort of the use case. It's just like to take the exact look of the transaction with all the items, with all the details, and duplicate a second one with it. And there was some discussions around deleting the original one. We haven't gotten there yet, but it's basically just duplicate a transaction in a different type.
Yeah. So what we did is we kind of noticed that people, since they were asking for multiple different, like from here to here, instead of making it so that your more button gets, and you know what, I spent too long waiting on this. There's a reason why that's a problem. But what happened was the more button was getting a little bit too crowded. And right now, let's see here. There we go. So, you know, as you can imagine, if you were to be able to do copy to for like 15 things, this would get a little bit crowded on this button. So what we did is we changed it from like specific things to now it's just copy to ... You click on that. And what it will do is it will bring open a little box for you to go and say, what do you want to copy this over into? And you don't even have to click on anything. You can just straight from when you click the button, you can start clicking on that down arrow or up arrow to move to select whatever you want to select. So let's say that we have this expense and we want to change it into a check. I don't know. I can press copy. What will happen is you'll open a new screen that's just the same expenses that are the same as the transaction you just came from, but the screen that you came from, as you can see, now has a check type with the details filled in, and it even includes the attachments and the memo and everything like that. So
including the attachments was a big deal, by the way. Good job with that, Mark. I do want to point something out. If you delete the old transaction, the new transaction is not matched with the bank. You see how this one says one online bank matching? So if you delete this after you create it, you still have to rematch it on the online banking or delete the pending transaction in the banking, because that part we cannot automate.
Yeah. Now, there's one other final caveat, well, apart from the fact that, yes, it also won't be reconciled if you are trying to do this to a reconciled transaction. So make that be very clear. But earlier we were talking about the new pages. This is where that new page thing really comes into play, because if you do have a thing where you have like the new expenses, this won't copy into that. It's just, unfortunately, the way of things. We are going to work on it. I'm hoping to have that fixed in this next month. But just be aware, if you have like a weird mix of old and new screens in QuickBooks Online,
it's not going to work.
It's going to be weird. So
yeah, it'll take us a while to do that. That's the chat. Like, there hasn't been like a quiet time where they haven't changed the screens, but it feels like maybe 6 or 7 months ago they did less changes. But the last couple of months, it's like every screen goes to an experiment and they're like testing new things. And every time they change one thing in the code, it messes us up.
To be fair, most of the time when they make changes, they're small changes that either don't affect us or not a big deal, and we can fix it in a day. The problem is they're literally rewriting all these pages. It doesn't look like they're rewriting them, but trust me, they are rewriting them from the ground up. So
Right. And then we have a question here from Lisa. It says, is this a copy of the transaction, or is it replacing the original transaction? So it's a copy, it's a duplicate. It's not replacing it. There's no way to replace it because you still have to delete the original transaction, which, by the way, we could automate that. We're not there yet. Or
we could. I mean, it's not that we're not there. It's just that it's such a dangerous thing to do that we've just decided against it.
Right. So it's basically a copy. That's why it's called copy to, not replace with or change to. So it's copy to, and we're also like based on what could be copied. It's in here because going from expense to deposit or deposit to expense is one of the complicated things. Because obviously you got transactions that use items, transactions that don't, and that gets a little hairy as well. But there's no way to replace the original transaction. And again, if you delete the original transaction and that was reconciled, you're going to mess up your reconciliation. And if it's matched with the bank, you're going to mess up that matching. So just be aware that all we're doing is facilitating the duplicating of the transaction with the same contents onto a different transaction type.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, Mark, next on our agenda is paste details in new transactions. So while you have control over this, just go ahead and showcase that.
Okay, wait a minute. Which one?
The new expense bill screen where we can paste the details now. So this is the big one. This is the really big.
Okay, we're talking about that.
Yeah, this is the really big feature. The one that, again, if you're not a pro user, and unfortunately a big percentage of you are not pro users, and we're okay with that. But I think that the people that are not being pro users are paying 3 times, 4 times as much by doing things manually in QBO. So it's going to be under Experiments. It's going to be under Experiments Pro.
There we go. I don't know why it didn't load in the first time, but we're just going to accept it.
So let's hold on. If you don't mind, Mark, let's start with the premise. We have a really ultra popular, well-functioning paste into journal entry feature. Okay. A couple of, let's say like a week and a half ago, I told them, hey, could we do this into the item details for the purposes of doing something very popular in our world called a zero net check or a zero net expense or a zero net bill, somewhere where you can have items come in and out, negatives and positives, or move things from category to items or for items to category to net out in reports. That was something that we did a lot in the desktop days when we wanted things to show up in items instead of reports, especially for job costing or for bringing in like outside expenses from different vendors, like timesheets and stuff like that with processing payroll, not in QuickBooks. So you can now do that entire pasting functionality inside. Again, new screens only, new bill screen, new expense screen. We're probably not going to bring this to the old screens. It just might be way too much work. But this works independently on the item side and on the category side. So Mark, take it away.
Yeah. So and kind of another bit of backstory is that when I first made the journal entry copy and paste from Excel, there was when I was done with it, I was like, I like this, but there were some issues with it fundamentally in terms of making it apply to all the different pages. So what we're going to do, or what we've done here, is we have basically brought the copy and paste from Excel into a screen, into the expense page and invoices page through these buttons right here. So like Hector was talking about, like let's say that we want to paste into this item details. I can click on this paste from Excel. And then let me see if I can find an item details thing here. So let's say I have this particular Excel right here that I want to paste in. I can just come over here and press paste. And if everything's green, I'm good to go. Otherwise, if we have something that's like yellow, then you'll see that there's options up here you can click into to make sure that you get to the right thing. And another small improvement is that now if you're ever like, I wonder if this is the actual thing that I'm looking for instance, here you can see I have customer PLO, and that's not an actual customer, but it's just saying that that's the only thing that matches inside of your QuickBooks file. We now have a thing here that still keeps this up so that you can see exactly which customer, whatever, is going to be placed into. So I'm going to press placed into QuickBooks. And you'll see everything goes in there pretty nice and quick. And yeah, just super nice there. And then finally, if I'm like, after I'm done with this and I like want to use this for another thing, assuming that I didn't just use an Excel to paste this in, I can click export to CSV, and it just creates a perfectly formatted CSV for the type that you need in order to make this work. So, and what's really cool about this is that it works on every kind of grid. It works inside of bills, it works inside of expenses, it works inside of checks, I believe. Yeah. And it does it based on which one you click in. So over here, I had item details. If I had clicked on this one, I could have pasted in category details. And that's part of the reason, again, why I can, once I get on a call with Bonnie, I might be able to bring this into journal entry pretty quickly because I've made it in such a way that it should be able to move over to that pretty quick. Yeah. Do you have any statements or comments on that, Hector?
No.
Okay.
No. Did you do the, I think it might be worth it, do the export all on the items, just because it's a little bit different than what the journal entry one would look like.
Yeah. And there's actually a question by Janet that I will get to in just a second, okay? Let's see here. So yeah, if I do that, you can see now inside of here, this is all, I had to basically inside of this file make a whole bunch of classes and products to test this out all the way. But yeah, you can see all of the data is basically right inside of there. So if you ever need it for whatever reason, you just have easy access to it. Since Janet asked, there is, when you copy and paste this CSV into an Excel, it might all show up inside of one single cell. Hector, I don't remember exactly what it's called, but there is something, I think it maybe is in data that can take.
Yeah, it's called text to columns.
Is it text to columns?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
if it doesn't, if you're copy and pasting and it doesn't paste correctly, that's an Excel, a spreadsheet thing. You just do text to columns. There's usually a tab or a comma that separates them.
Yeah. In this case, I think it would be a comma. So just letting you know, if you ever did want to copy this into an actual Excel and everything, and it's only going into one cell, this data and then text to columns, I think that's where you can go for that. So
once you're seeing it in grid format, usually it's not an issue.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you go from Excel to Google Sheets, that type of stuff could happen.
Yeah, exactly. I'll see if I can get that running, but for the most part, I think that's what I have to show. If you want to continue the takeover for the next bit, but if there's something you want me to show,
we have paste into the new invoice screen.
We do.
That's something, so we can cover.
We can actually do that real quick. Let's see here. Go to Simple Start.
Invoice and estimates, though, correct?
Invoice and estimates. Basically, the new invoicing screen, we have it in there, which is really cool. I know a lot of people have been wanting the invoice paste for a while, so it's an ironic thing that it was only until they made this new one that we were able to do it. But that's
exactly
a separate thing. But you'll notice it's slightly different because there's no buttons down here for like clearing the grid. So we actually had to put the paste Excel and export CSV at the top right. So just something to be aware of. It's slightly different, but it works exactly the same way.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's open it up to Q&A. Good job, Mark.
Yeah. Thank you.
So what we got on the Q&As?
Let's see here. Somebody asked, how did you get your attachments to show beside your memo on the expense screen? That's because it's the new expense screen. So that's right. I guess one of the small updates of that is the fact that the memo now shows up beside the attachments area
instead of in the top or in the bottom. They just okay. There's two people. Okay. People ask, what's the pricing again for RightTool? So like a lot of the features that we showcase were free, and some of they're pro. Pro edition of RightTool is $50 a month, but it's per user, not per company file. So you can have one client or a gazillion clients. We don't log into any of your clients' files. It's all a Chrome extension. So it'll be $50 a month, George. And if you have a team members, will be $15 for any.
Yeah, one day we need to change the pricing, not because of the fact that not for any specific reason, but just because of the fact that we can't keep saying 50 and 15. It's going to drive Hector insane. So
I like it. 50, 15, 15. I don't have an issue with it. Somebody's asking, is there special pricing for non-US people? No. And the other thing is, we haven't even tested this stuff in non-US QBO accounts. So I'm not 100% sure if this is going to work. We are supporting this for UK, Australian, and Canadian users. So if any of these features don't work in Canada, UK, or Australia, let us know and we'll look at the file. But we're not we're not reducing the price because you're in Canada or Australia or whatever. And I beg to differ. If you think if you think $50 a month is expensive, I think wasting 2 to 3 hours right clicking and copying and pasting, doing some of the things that we can do here, especially with batch edit, batch delete in the register. I mean, and again, we have the free version that contains more features that are on the paid edition. So like, it's really up to you. Like we're not going down with the price. I think that we're pretty stern on the $50 a month. And again, it's per user, and it's not $50 per firm user. 50 for the very first user. If you got multiple users in a firm, it's 15 for additional users. So it's firm pricing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's see here. There are quite a few things in the Q&A. Let's see here. The new invoices and expenses screen. I'm having trouble seeing negatives in the line amount. Will accessibility features help with that? That's actually a good point. I mean, if you're not seeing it, we'll see what we can do. Maybe we can just literally increase the font weight or something like that inside of
let's can you make me host again? Let's look at it.
Let's see, make host. Somebody said, any discount for Argentinian users? Trust me, $50 is a lot here. I mean, I don't know. There's probably a good argument, and Hector and I will probably discuss it in terms of if there is something we do for people who are from very specific parts of the world. Maybe.
I would say if you work in a nonprofit, we could work out a deal.
But, yeah, and there's also that's something we don't advertise super great, but yes, we do have a deal for nonprofits. If you have a nonprofit, it's only for the first user, but we take it from $50 to $15 a month for the first user. Yep. If you are a nonprofit, just email me at mark@monkbee.com and we'll get that. Yeah.
Okay. So the comment was on the negatives on the new invoice screen. And one thing that's interesting, in this QBO file that I have, I can't even switch to the new invoice experience. So it's like, it's this pain in the butt thing where I have to like switch to another company file that has the new invoice experience. It drives me freaking bonkers. Okay, so people are saying they're having trouble looking at the negatives. Let me see. Yeah, I could totally see how the negative. Can we make this red? Maybe.
Making individual negatives red, probably not. We'd have to figure out. I mean, maybe we could. I don't know, but probably not. I'm just gonna say.
Okay. So making the font bigger, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Is maybe either making it bigger or slightly bolder. I don't know. We'll figure it out. I'll figure something out. I just need to write it down in my notes.
Okay, so either making it red or making it bold. Good suggestion though. Like, accessibility is really important to us, by the way. Like we made a commitment that, like if any challenges you're having, visual, audio, mechanical movement, there's something we can improve the overall usage of QuickBooks, we're definitely going to do that. Let's see. Okay, Kate says, can you show us how to export and import our settings in case we're transferring RightTool from one computer to the other? Yes, let's do that. So let's say, for example, I have a whole bunch of custom favorites. I have group favorites. I have, a particular subset of things are on or off. And I don't want to touch it. Like right now, my RightTool is perfect. I've reached peak RightTool where it's all like in the perfect setting, and I don't want to change my workflow, and I want to go to a different computer and have the exact same setting. Or I have an employee that I want them to use the exact same thing. I have somebody that works for me in the team. I want them to have the exact same things turned on and off, the exact favorites, the exact group favorites, all that stuff. So the way we export the settings, we go to help, and then it says here, it says export settings. And then we click on export settings, and then this weird thing shows up. Essentially, this is a Word file per se. It basically says, hey, feature ID. We call everything by feature ID. And it says, okay, which of these things are on or off? And all you have to do is just copy it. You could put it paste it in a Word file, paste it in an email, whatever it is, okay? And then let's say, for example, I'm going to turn off all the toggles here. So I'm going into my RightTool and look, oh no, all my things are gone. Okay, all my toggles are gone. So I can go into help. I can just literally just import that bunch of gibberish that was here. Okay, essentially that's what we're doing. We're importing that thing that looks like gibberish in here. Why is this thing not copying? Hold on a second.
Is it not copying? It might be. It might just be that.
Copy, and then we'll paste that in here. Okay,
Okay.
now it's working. And then I click on import, and then when I hit OK, then I go back into my settings, and then
Might have to refresh, maybe.
yeah,
Is it just going to be acting up weird on me?
Yeah,
it's going
it's
to act
acting
up weird on me.
Okay, so
I think you copied it after you'd already turned everything off. That's why. Like when you remember when you.
Yeah. Shoot, that's right.
My bad. Right. My bad for making sometimes that copy button's weird. I don't know what's going on.
You're right. You're right. Okay. So we have a whole bunch of settings turned on right here. Like you see a bunch of things on, and then some things are off. I go into help. I go to export settings. I copy this stuff.
This is why I made the copy button a thing.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that it's weird.
Yeah. It's,
Let's see if it pastes in now, or if it's gonna still. Well, I guess you wouldn't be able to tell, would you?
Okay. Then I'm gonna
I'll figure it out.
Paste, and then go to import, and then hit OK, and then I go back into these settings, and then the stuff will be turned back on. Okay. And then the same thing with favorites. That would be a different thing, the favorites. So you would go export favorites, and then all your custom favorites, like all the favorites that you created other than the default stuff that that RightTool has. And essentially this is the current favorite configuration. You copy it, and let's say, for example, I go into
that might not work for you, but we're gonna find out.
QuickBooks. Yeah, we'll find out.
Well, I was gonna say I think you copied it slightly impartially. So, which admittedly, maybe that's just my signal that I need to just put an X button on that thing instead of having it so it closes out whenever you click outside of the.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
Yeah. Okay. We'll fix that. I'll put that in my notes.
All right, we'll do that again. So I'm gonna copy the favorites one more time, which again you would have copied into an email or a memo or something like that. Then I'm gonna go into my favorites here. I'm gonna refresh that. Okay, I'm gonna delete all of them just to kind of showcase. Oh no, my favorites are gone. Okay, or maybe I have my own custom favorite here. And then to restore those favorites again in a different version in a different computer with RightTool, we go into settings. We go into where it says export favorites, paste them in there, and then click on import. Okay, and then we'll refresh this, and then we'll load back in there. So again, if you want to transfer something from one computer to the other, or from one user to the other, that's how you would do it. So Kate, hopefully that answered your question. Okay, what about my company list? So
company list, if you're talking about when you have like all companies, I think that's included in the favorites export. So
company switch.
Yeah, company switch is included in favorites. I'm 90% sure. Admittedly, it's been a while.
All right, well, we can double check that really quick. So if we go here and then go into export favorites, let me refresh for a second here. It's not.
Okay. Well, I'll look into it then.
Okay. So we'll make that part of the export favorites, I guess. So favorites and company list and group favorites too. You said we'll double check that everything is included there. So when you do the export and the imports, good.
Yeah.
Good call out on that.
It only works, Amanda. It only works on the web browser. It does not work in the QBO desktop.
Right.
If we could, we would, but we can't, so we shan't.
Right. The QBO desktop app is not an open system. It's completely closed, and rightfully so. Like Intuit wants to control that ecosystem. Like I think in many ways Intuit wishes that their QBO desktop app had all these things. And I wouldn't be surprised if you start seeing some of the things already being copied in there. But no, it's going to be Google Chrome, Microsoft Edge, and any Chromium-based browser, which difficult to explain exactly what that means. But it's basically you're going to go into RightTool.app, and then you click on the link that says RightTool app for free, download for free. And if you see a button in the top right that says add to Chrome or remove from Chrome, of course. If you see the Add to Chrome button and you click on it and you don't get an error, then it means you have a browser that's compatible with this. You have what's called a Chromium-based browser.
Yeah. Somebody asked if they, I think, one second. I don't have the new screens or the paste from Excel's, and the paste from Excel's are not showing up. Do you have to wait? Yes, you do. Unfortunately, it's just what it is. If I could, I mean, I could, but unfortunately,
don't commit to that. Yeah.
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 Unfortunately, my code for the paste from Excel for journal entries was just not as flexible as required to make it so I could easily bring that over into the classic pages.
Right.
So,
if you have a journal entry and the code is not working, that will fix, because that means you have the new journal entry screen, and we're dying to find a QBO file that has a new journal entry experience. But if you have the old bills and the old checks, we're not going to work on that yet. That's why it's under experimental feature and not a fully released feature, because only a few subset of people will have access to that. Okay, I'll give a couple of shout outs here at the end and we'll wrap it up. I don't think we have any more questions. So one of our users, Andrew, was walking us through how he uses company, the custom favorites. So he did a Loom video. Go ahead and check that out. That's on the very last slide. Jason Staat's video that you saw at the very beginning. If you came 5 minutes late, you missed that introduction. And then Matthew Fulton did a really nice 16-minute review video on RightTool. So all these things are worth mentioning. And we'll answer the last question that says, are there any security issues by adding this extension? And Mark, I'll let you answer that as specifically or vaguely as you want to.
Yeah, I mean, I always try to answer this as specifically as I can, which is to say there is no such thing as an 100% safe extension for a browser. They have an insane amount of power that is available to the developers. However, we do go out of our way to make sure we don't we have as little permissions as possible for what we do. We also don't store any data on you. Like, we don't store, if you're a paid user, we don't store your paid data on our end. We store it with Stripe as the people who hold that. If we're talking about and we don't store any other actual information. So the only thing you have to worry about, which is not a small concern, let's be clear, it's not a small concern, is if I ever went evil and decided to program something in to do bad things. Unfortunately, there's just not much I can do to assuage fears on that.
No one can do that. No one can do that. The minute you add a Chrome extension, you're giving an immense amount of access to not your computer. In some cases, the computer resources that the browser can use. It's not that many of them, but sometimes it could, and it will ask you permission. Like, computers will ask you, can I access your webcam? Can I access your microphone? Can I access your desktop? Like, the browser will stop a bad extension from doing something like that. But you are going into QBO, right? And there's sensitive client information, and any Chrome extension, to be clear, can read and scrape anything that's on the screen.
Now, and let me also be clear, is that I cannot, because of the way that it works inside of QuickBooks Online, I can't get anything like bank details. Like, if you ever, I can't get any kind of bank details or anything from anything you do. I can get the individual transactions that come in through the bank feed, theoretically. I don't know. I can get that stuff, but I can't get that. There is on the login page, if I wanted to, what I do suggest is just using a two-factor authentication. There's nothing we can do to bypass that, or nothing anybody can do to bypass two-factor authentication. That's pretty much the big thing, I would say. If you're very worried about security, two-factor authentication is just the best thing you can do. I just recommend it greatly. Somebody says the extension use more working memory. Yes, but Chrome by its very nature uses all of your working memory. It's like a thing about Chrome, even if you didn't have an extension. And we do try to make this as lean as we possibly can, so it's not slowing you down.
Right. Right.
Which is a big hindrance, by the way. Let me be clear.
Right. Which is part of the reason why we're not developing, the new features in like all versions, because that's doubles and triples the amount of code that RightTool needs to go through and needs to do like what if, is this an old screen? Is this a new screen? Is this a middle old screen? And then go back and, which code are we going to inject into here? So we would love to fast forward to a world where QBO is done changing the screens and everybody's QBO file looks exactly the same. That way we have one set of code and one set of code only. But we're going to have a code from RightTool that we built a year ago that we're going to have to now make a decision as to, okay, no one else has this old screen anymore. We can start removing that. And all that stuff makes, we're talking about nanoseconds here. All that stuff could help with the performance. But the more features we add and the more different versions of QBO screens, the more layers of code that we have to create. In terms of overall speed, some people have reported that Microsoft Edge is faster than Chrome. So yeah, you could try Microsoft Edge for sure. There's a new browser called Arc. Have you seen it, Mark?
Yeah, you showed me I think you sent me a video about it.
I'll show it anyway because it's kind of fun.
Trying to get everybody off of our extension.
Yeah, it's also tax season, and I'm avoiding going back to doing more tax returns. Looking for an excuse not to go do more tax returns. But this new browser is pretty interesting. It's called Arc, ARC. You can download it for free. I believe it's only available in Mac. Like I don't think they have a PC version. But the new browser, it's really an interesting style. Like you don't get tabs in the top. Your tabs are like on the side. So that takes some use. It takes some time getting used to that. But what's kind of interesting is depending on your screen size and stuff like that, you now have the left navigation bar that QBO has, which we can auto close with RightTool, and then you have this little sort of tab that opens on the side. So you could have more real estate on the screen. Once you close RightTool and you close that, the overall space that it gives you, it's a lot larger. So I like that. And if you don't use tabs that much, like I wouldn't mind having the tabs sort of closed, and you can come in here and you can browse the tabs through here. So that's pretty cool. And I don't know if you noticed this, but the navigation on this browser is absolutely blazing fast. Like the way this browser reacts with your computer, it just feels faster than Edge and Chrome. So something to think about. And it works with RightTool because it's a Chromium-based browser. It's called Arc, A-R-C. A-R-C, just download Arc browser or something like that. And it's Mac only, but something and they added a bunch of like new AI features to it too. That's pretty interesting, kind of beyond the scope of what RightTool does. But it feels like the next generation of browsers. Like browsers have not been innovated in a very long time, other than the like Brave, and I forget what the other one is that like focuses on like security and like privacy. Other than Brave, this Arc seems to be like the one that gets most innovated. Just comparing the rest of them. But have you used Brave, Mark? I know you're a PC user.
I use Chrome. It's not necessarily like the best thing in the world, but I still use Chrome. It's just easier for everything.
Yeah, the tools that Google gives you on Chrome are incredible. Like Chrome really changed the world of browsing. Like this whole concept of Chrome extensions completely changes the way you think about developing apps and enhance just the overall usability of any app.
Yeah. Haryana, I'm gonna hope that's the pronounced way to pronounce that. It says her kid uses Brave. Should I trust it? Yes. Brave is arguably much more trustworthy than Chrome.
Yeah.
But neither one should be a super big problem.
Right. But again, could there be a rogue Brave user that puts a virus in it? Yeah, that could happen anywhere. That could happen with Microsoft products, Google products, of course. Brave's a smaller company than Google or Apple or Microsoft, so obviously they're going to have a lot less sort of controls. But in general, I think Brave has gotten pretty good reputation. And then some people say that schools are using Brave as well. That's pretty interesting. Yeah. Or DuckDuckGo. All right, so we still have a couple hundred people. I'll run the last polling question here. So just at least didn't feel like I wasted my time putting a polling question up on that. So I have a polling question here, which is which of the new features did you like the most? So we threw so much at you that at this point you probably forgot which were the new features. But which of the new features did you like the most, or this new surprises or new news or developments with it? So was it making all the reports features free? Which actually, honestly, if you're excited about that, that means you are a free user, which probably means you haven't even looked at the report feature. So that should be like opening, presents in Christmas for you.
Ironically, making it so we would actually want to do a separate kind of training on that just for free users to.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we got another 9 minutes until we hit the 90-minute mark, so we can do that. And the new paste features in the new bill and invoice screen seems to be one of the popular ones. And the copy to feature, they like that. A lot of people like that feature, by the way. And 0 people said that none of them are exciting, so that's good. That's a good thing. So let me share my screen and let's go over in 8 minutes or less the reporting features. Okay, so I'm gonna open up my sample file here, and I'm on the free version of RightTool right now, as you can see on the top right of the screen. I'm on the free version, so we're gonna go into settings. I'm gonna turn everything off just for now. I love this new feature, just turn all the toggles off. And I love knowing how many features are on here on the bottom. Like this is just so awesome, just for me, kind of keep sanity check. And I'm gonna turn on all the classic reporting features. And let's start with a couple of them. So let's go and pull up a profit and loss report. Example, we'll start with something very simple. So again,
Lori
this
says,
is not...
are these Zooms always 90 minutes? My calendar always says 60 minutes and I don't allow for 90. Yes, these are basically 90 minutes at this point.
Anything that contains anything that has my name on it, always assume is going to go at least half an hour longer. My wife is here next to me, not laughing at that joke. Anyway, so I'm looking at reports here. Sometimes I just want to export this into a CSV or to the clipboard, not to Excel, because Excel is, for lack of a better term, the way the QuickBooks people design this Excel export is just so dumb, so not friendly. Number one, they added this one column here that drives me freaking insane. This one cell that's concatenated with multiple cells. Usually it causes tons of issues. And also sometimes the headers, I don't want, for XYZ reason, I don't want the headers. So we just made it simple and give you the look. If you want to copy and paste this to the clipboard, you could just do that. That way you don't have to open an actual file and then come into your trusty Excel file here.
Ironically, you're going to run into that exact issue that somebody else just asked about, but that's okay.
Right? And then we paste into that, right? And then because it's a CSV, so I can just do, I think I would say 99% of people know about text to columns. So like I'm not terribly.
You'd be surprised.
Yeah, true. Not terribly worried about that. But you do a text to column split, and I'll separate it, and I'll get rid of the headers. So that's specifically with copy and paste. And the reason why I did copy and paste is because I was doing a lot of ChatGPT stuff, copy and pasting from ChatGPT. So I actually asked Mark for that. But if you just do export to CSV and you open it, then you don't have to worry about text to columns. It comes in already clean. It just comes in already clean. And then if you go back into the settings, you have an option to exclude the headers. And if you use group favorites, we can automate the creation of the reports in CSV or PDF whenever you launch a batch of reports. So this should be like, for you guys seeing this for the first time, this should be like Christmas. The next thing on reports is, let's say, for example, I have a P&L by class, and one of the things that
well, it's called customer, but
Okay, by customer or by class. One of the things that drives people crazy is that you can't collapse subclasses. So you'll have like this parent class 1, for example, which is like one of the classes itself, and then I have a subclass 1 and 2, and then I have a total. So it's just too much information being shown. So we have this little button here that says subcolumns. So when you click on that, it turns the parent class red to let you know that we mucked with it, we did something with it, but it hides all the subclasses in this specific case. Okay, so that's number one, and that was a big thing for nonprofits. And who was big in helping us with this? Was it
Ufoma, I believe, was the one
Yeah.
for this one.
Yeah, Ufoma spent a lot of time with us, kind of walking us through. She's the resident expert in nonprofits. So when you click on it again, it expands it, and then we have close parent columns. This is different. This, instead of hiding the subclasses, it hides all the totals, right? So it only shows subs of subs. That way, if you were to export this into Excel and do an actual sum across the entire line, actually not export to Excel, export to CSV. Okay.
Yeah.
Because the export to Excel is going to default to the original report, but you export to CSV, which will export the actual things you're seeing, and you sum across. It will actually sum across. It won't have those subtotals there messing you up. And also, if you have anything that has zeros, you can click on net zeros, and it gets rid of any ones that are just zeros, that are basically a waste of space. So like those are all the tools that we added on columns and subcolumns.
And some people have asked, and I guess maybe I've been hearing a little bit more chatter on this recently about separating out account numbers. It's difficult for a couple of reasons, but I mean, if there's enough people, go to the Facebook group and shout it and be like, Mark, shame on you for not making account number split out when you do export to CSV. And I might be able to do something with that. So
that's a good point.
That's
right?
my call to action, to go to Facebook and yell at me.
Yeah, that's a good point. I would totally request that. I missed that. I know we did it with other type of exports. I think it was with the journal entry.
Journal entry is a slight bit easier.
Yeah, this is harder because if you use just this logic and the account number is not the account number, it's actually, if the number is part of the account name, we might not be able to know the difference. Is that the reason?
Yeah, which, I mean, maybe that's not even really a problem, but we'll see.
Yeah, the problem, one of the issues that QuickBooks has, let me show you. It might not be a use case always, but you can create an account. Let's just do here this, where the account number is, let's say 123 or 123 space house space 459. Like, I can literally do that. And the challenge we're gonna have with this is that if your account numbers have this weird all numbers attached nomenclature, and you have any spaces in it, we're not going to be able to know the difference. So we're going to split things out that are essentially not the account number. So that's shame of Intuit for allowing people to do that. But at the same time, that might be just an underlying limitation that we cannot.
I mean, it might be something where we just accept that that's going to happen for some people, and we still do the split out account numbers, and it's just like some people are going to get weird random issues with it, right, and it's just an acceptable thing. Right. And if you have account numbers and you put a number in your account name, it would still probably have a space. So if we just take the first number, that's probably fine.
Yeah. So we'll basically we'll do is, if there's a number, if the first character is a number, then separate the number and the wording from the first space.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So that again, that could become a mess totally, but different issue altogether. So the other thing that we added this thing called sub rows. So what happens is sometimes you want to close, these things manually, and it just takes forever to like close these things manually. So we just have a button here that says sub rows, and it'll close all the sub rows for you. And if you click it one more time, it will collapse one more time. And if you expand it, it will expand them all. And that's different than the collapse button, because if you click on the collapse button, it will collapse all the accounts, but it won't let you reopen any of the accounts. So if you're in expanded mode, then you can use sub rows and you have complete control over like how many layers of sub rows do you want to be closing. So that's this feature called sub rows and sub columns. Then we have default print reports to landscape. That's self-explanatory here, but when you go and you go print, it starts in landscape instead of starting in portrait. That was, I think, one of the users asked for that feature, and I probably simple enough to do. That Mark just added that. Then we have the auto switch to classic view. That was already on the free edition, which is if the modernized view opens, it automatically closes. And lastly, the big boy here, which is the report presets button. Okay, so this is pretty good. So for example, let's say I always want the negative reds to show, and I also want to close non-zero, and I always want everything to be descending, and I always want everything split up by months, and I always want cash basis, and I always want to show rolling 12 months, for example, and I always want to put on the printable note on audited, something like that. And I always want it to be collapsed. And if it's a P&L or a balance sheet, I always want it to show either previous period dollar change or previous period dollar percentage change. So assuming that that's what I always do when I run reports, essentially you turn that on the reports preset. And then when you run a P&L, like right now, I just ran a regular, let me just do this from scratch. So I go into reports, I go to P&L, and the P&L shows up how QBO shows up the P&L. And instead of me having to go in here and change this to months and change this to non-zero and change this to the comparative and change this to cash and collapse, like instead of me like having to click all these things, we just click once in this button called Run Presets. And it does all the presets for me. Everything I told it to do it on the preset, it does it for me automatically. This is going to save you tons of time with running reports, especially when you're almost always doing the same type of settings when you run your reports. So it's a single button called Run Presets. All of these things were previously available in the Pro Edition, now available in the Pre Edition, our gift to our free users. And there's a reason why we do that. Our free users are just as important as our Pro users for two reasons. One, once you get your feet wet with free, you're likely to go to Pro, or at least to show up in the Facebook group and give good suggestions and feedback. And two, we run ads, and companies pay us to run ads. We're not making that much money in ads yet, but in order to support the free version of it, we will have ads. So you're gonna see all sorts of different apps run ads inside RightTool. So support them by at least clicking on it and checking out what they got.
No, don't do that. I would
What?
rather that you just not click it if you're not going to look at it.
Okay. True. Okay. Yeah. You know what? True.
But
I'll
wait,
take
we
it
don't
back.
want to do the classic YouTube, the old YouTube
No,
strategy of clicking
yeah,
on, getting people to click on the ads.
you're right. That's not what I meant. I'll take it back 100%.
I do appreciate the thought process behind it. It's just
if it looks interesting, check out what they got to say. Of course, we don't want to mislead the advertisers with the number of clicks. So it's not a campaign to do clicks at all. As a matter of fact, we don't charge per click, but we want to give good information to advertisers about, how effective the ads are in RightTool. But you're right. Good call out, Mark. Thank you for that. Okay. We're good to go. We're over 90 minutes at this point. Thank you very much, everyone. We're going to post this into YouTube shortly. And, let us know if you have any more questions or feedback, and we'll see you the next month.
Yeah. See you, everybody.